Are we all ready? Welcome. This is the February meeting of the Sunflower Technology Park.
Did he set you up a microphone? He set you up a microphone. That's what you're-
I'm not going to talk tomorrow. I don't have a microphone right now. I mean, you need technology, right? So I will speak. I'm hearing me for some reason, but you know, I'm Katha Mapes, the president of the Sunflower Technology Park. We have our vice president, Larry Shear, who's our tech expert. We have Liz Perry, our treasurer, and our wonderful past president, Tim Walsh, who has been going. So we're glad you're here. We have a special presentation today. Before we start with our tech talk about Tesla, I just have a few announcements. First of all, assortment of things that we're selling. We no longer need them in the lab. Got some headphones, some mice, and Apple keyboards. So like if you have a laptop, a lot of times it helps to have an external keyboard and mouse. We have others. We have a fire tablet. And another assortment of things. This is the price list. We're willing to negotiate. We just don't need this, and so we'd like to sell them. So after the show, come by and take a look and see what we have. So March, we'll be having a talk about sleep apnea and the technology, or sleep disorders, the technology that's used to diagnose and treat them. Very much try to have a tech talk that is of interest, but of course, we want to know what your interests are. We're going to have a tech expo in March, but the board decided because of concerns from so many members coming together in this room that we decided to cancel it and wait until the fall. And so I'd like to also turn it over now to Larry to give his report.
And my report's basically on the website and the lab. And the website, I've been keeping that up to date now. So if you want to go in and look at any of the old meetings, they're all recorded, they're all up there. You just go into what the title is, but you go into, I believe it's resources or the one right above that, and it has a YouTube icon. Just click on the YouTube icon. It'll take you to all of our meetings that have been recorded, and you can watch those. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? The lab update. We're looking at doing some updates in the lab. One of the questions that had come up in our meeting this morning was the possibility of doing away with a couple of the computers that are in there and creating workspace. That's one option. We're going to be putting out a survey asking for your input on a lot of this stuff. So hopefully you'll respond with what you people want and what you need in the lab, because we're trying to make it as useful as possible for everyone. So please let us know what your thoughts are when that survey comes out. Let's see, not a whole lot else, but like I say, the website is being kept up to date. At least a couple times a month I update it. Usually anytime any new information comes out, I'll put it up there. So it's all up there for you guys to look at. If you don't know how to get there, it's fairly easy. You can go into the Sunflower webpage, go under clubs, and go to the Tech Club. Click on it. It takes you right to the webpage.
And also on the webpage, if you haven't renewed your membership yet, you can go on the webpage and do that. You can pay via PayPal, or you can get an application at the front desk and pay for it that way. It's $30 for a household, no more than 2 in a household. And also guest service, we always welcome guests here. You can come one time to the meeting, and then after that, we'd ask you to pay. Same thing with the Sunday help sessions, which are running twice a month with the Honor Society students from Marana High. You're welcome to come once to use our services, but after that, we'd ask you to join the club. Yes, Kathy.
Larry, I had sent you an email about other clubs that aren't part of the Sunflower, but were here.
Okay, one of the things, we did discuss that this morning.
Yes.
One of the things that we decided was that it gets used a lot in that way anyway, like in your case, Cemetery Foundation. You want to print out like 5 pages a month for your treasurer's report, that type of thing. We don't have any problem with that as long as it's not abused, because we know people print out stuff for churches, if they're part of a church group, or things like that. There's no problem with doing that for personal use. But if you're going to be printing something major, like 100 documents or flyers or pamphlets or something, that you just contact the board and we'll come up with a way for you to pay for that, or have you go somewhere else and get that done. But yeah, that's, we did discuss that in the meeting this morning. I was going to send you an email, I'll let you know, but yes.
Make sure you have your name and phone number in there somewhere, so somebody has a question, they can call.
Good idea.
What there is on the web pages, you go to the bottom of most of the pages, it's to contact the webmaster, that comes to me. That's an email.
Yeah, remember, you're computer literate, not everybody.
Yeah, but on the web page, if you scroll down to the bottom and click on that, it takes you to your email server. And then you can send an email to me, just what's my email address. But otherwise, I'll make sure that there's phone numbers up there.
You can always call me. I'm in the Sunflower directory. I don't mind phone call or text. If you have a technical question, that's fine. Yes, Helen?
I don't use the lab much, but I needed to use it last week. And somebody was in there and they helped me, but it would be nice if there was a little note. I didn't know how to clear everything off the computer as I was signing out.
Okay.
Somebody helped me with
So
that.
here's what you do. On the computers in there, when you're signed on, there's an icon on the right-hand side. And I can't remember what it says.
Restart?
It may say restart. Anyway, you just double click on that,
That's what they told me.
and that's all you have to do. Because our computers are set up so that anything you do, when you click on that and the computer goes back and restarts, it goes back to the way it was. It wipes everything out that you did.
I'm not sure my memory is that good, that I'm gonna remember next time I go down.
But that's,
Is there just a little sign there that says hit start twice and it'll
yeah,
eliminate?
you can do that, or any way that you get off of that computer, any way you sign out of it, even if it's just to click on the button and
To turn it off?
power button and turn it off. Next time it starts up, it's all gone. And automatically, when it restarts blank with just what we have set up in there.
So I don't need to use it in incognito window anymore?
No.
I just do that on the
Yeah,
Zoom.
you just. yeah.
Another thing we discussed this morning was about color printing. We're gonna try to change the default on the color printer because it comes up automatically colored and not everything needs to be printed in color. So until it gets fixed, you'll get the option of, you'd have to go in there and unclick the color and click black and white. So that's great if you're just printing, on
What
a
we're gonna do is we're gonna default it. to
we're gonna
black and white.
default it, but then you're gonna have to choose color if you want color.
That way people, because with that color one being the default, some people are printing a lot of color copies that they don't really need. It just happens to be the default. So we're gonna default that to black and white.
So then you'll have to choose color.
You have to choose color. Saves on color.
Thanks for your help on the foundation for it. It works, but there's sometimes that since it goes through the Xfinity router.
Yeah. Okay, well, if you need more help, let me
Any
know.
other questions on that kind of stuff?
And that's what's great for me is having such a wonderful tech team to work with. And they're more knowledgeable about technology than I am actually. So today we have the wonderful pleasure of Doug Perry coming here to share his Tesla experiences and everything else we should know about Tesla. So Doug, you can go for it.
Thank you. So you heard mention many times already this morning about in their meeting, they discussed. And this tech club has lots of meetings, lots of phone calls, lots of things that they do. And I think we should give them a round of applause for all their hard work. I'm not just saying that because my wife is one of them, but maybe I am. So how many came here to learn about electric vehicles versus coming here for the cookies and the coffee? Okay, yeah, we don't really know. Okay. How many people here own a Tesla or an electric vehicle? How many of you are interested in electric vehicles? Okay. So I'm going to go through a presentation this morning, and anytime you have a question, feel free to ask it. My advice is raise your hand because I'm old, my hearing isn't all that great. Just raise your hand and hopefully I'll see it, okay? So we're going to talk this morning about all electric vehicles. Then we're going to talk specifically about Tesla. And Liz and I happen to be the owners of one of the models of Tesla. So we're going to talk about that car as well, specifically. And then lastly, those of you who are interested, you can go out with me and we'll actually take a look at the car and we'll do a little demo of a couple of different things that I'm not able to show in here. All right?
And they're fun to see.
Some of them, if they work. And that's one of the things about electric vehicles, if they work. But anyway, so all electric vehicles, the EV industry in the United States started, my guess is started before anybody in here was born. And we got some old folks in here. But 1890 was the first electric vehicle in the United States. There was this guy in Des Moines, Iowa, and he was able to get it up to the astronomical speed of 14 miles an hour, which means you could actually ride around our whole community where the speed limit's 25. In 2008, the real change agent entered the game, and that was Tesla. They actually came up with a Tesla Roadster, and it was priced way over $100,000, and there were only a few made. Now, other companies are following, and we'll talk about them in a moment. You may have heard some things about the environment, and I wanted to clear some things up about that first. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's controversy about it. And I'm here to tell you the real facts. During the first 3 years of ownership, because of the way the battery is in an electric vehicle and the disposal cost and the environmental impact of that, during the first 3 years, an electric vehicle is no better than a gas-powered vehicle with all the emissions coming out of the back. After 3 years, and for the life of the car, it is much better for the environment. And that's where I think some of this confusion has come about. But electric vehicles overall are much better for the environment. And there's no gasoline smells to go along with it. If you've ever been behind any of these trucks or cars that are older that have all those fumes, obviously with an electric vehicle, you don't have any of that. They're very quiet, and they're so quiet that starting in 2021, just last year, all electric vehicles that are manufactured at that date and afterwards have to have a noisemaker. When they're going below 15 miles an hour, they'll actually make a noise. And that's because they're so quiet, they can be dangerous to pedestrians when you're backing up or a bicyclist. So they have to come with that. Our car, yes.
What's the noise?
Actually, it really has to be a certain decibel. And I don't remember what the exact decibel is, a certain loudness. Each manufacturer can come up with their own. So certain cars will have a very specific noise that it'll make. Some of it's a whining noise and other noises like that. One thing we'll learn about this morning is Teslas are very customizable, and Tesla, you can have it make any noise you want. It can play a song, it can do anything you want. Tesla,
Move out of my way.
it'll do all sorts of things.
I have a question.
It'll also empty your pocketbook, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Yes,
Why is it environmentally better after 3 years? What's a 3-year?
yes. In the first 3 years, a gas-powered car is putting off fumes. An electric vehicle is not. But let's say I had an accident at 2.5 years in my Tesla, and it was totaled, and they had to dispose of the battery. That battery disposal cost and impact on the environment is worse than the 2.5 years of owning an electric vehicle. After that, it's much better. So it's really the battery disposal cost. Now, Tesla's working on that. And what they're doing is they're working on how do they recover all the materials within the battery so that it'll be able to be used in future batteries. So when that happens, it'll be from day one.
And aren't
Yes.
they already doing that on the SpaceX rocket boosters?
They're recycling the actual SpaceX modules, yes. And that technology needs to be transferred into the automobile industry.
Where are the batteries manufactured and come from?
We're going to get to that, but I'll answer your question in advance. It's all along the bottom of the car.
No, where are they manufactured?
Where is it manufactured?
Oh, where is it manufactured? Right now, some of them being manufactured in Nevada, for Tesla anyway. And they're currently getting set up to do that in Austin, Texas as well.
Okay, and the raw materials where these batteries come from?
They come from all over.
Okay.
They come from all over, and that's another part of the difficulty that they have in the manufacture of the batteries. Yes.
Listening that you say, when Tesla got started and so forth, what about this Prius? I have a friend right here in Tucson, maybe 12 years old. The car's still rolling.
Yeah.
And I know it's a combination between electric and gas, but I mean, they'll drive all the way to the East Coast, they go all over with the thing. And yet they have replaced the battery after about, I don't remember, 8-9 years or something like that. But where does that fit into all of this?
The hybrid vehicle is a compromise between the gas powered that most people probably in this room are driving and an electric vehicle like the Tesla. You can use the battery, or you can use gasoline to power that particular vehicle. There are a lot of different hybrids that have come on the market since then. Hybrids, there's Toyota hybrids, there's GMs, there's all sorts of different hybrid vehicles that are on the market today. My belief is that they will eventually go the way of the gas-powered engine. The future is electric and 100% electric. And I'll build my case as we talk about it this morning. Okay, but great question. Hybrid vehicles are a compromise between the electric and the gas. Okay. So who are the current electric vehicle players? Well, I have a very small list here. Tesla, VW, Ford, GM, Hyundai, Porsche, Audi, Nissan, Chevrolet, Rivian, Lucid, which is just up the street. They just opened a factory in Casa Grande, right? Mercedes-Benz, they have 2 different models that are out right now. XPeng, NIO, and Li are all in China. They're all companies in China. So many companies have started to make electric vehicles and found that it was too difficult, or they didn't have the right funding and they failed. So there's been all sorts of interest in this developing technology for many, many years. But now there's really one major player, and there's a lot of competitors that are trying to catch up, and that happens to be Tesla. And Tesla is way ahead by a decade or more of all of these other manufacturers as far as producing mass quantities of vehicles. Yes.
Yes, and I noticed the other day that Tesla had a recall like 800,000.
Yes.
What was that all about?
There's recalls that happen. How many people here have had their car recalled? Just about everybody, right? What did you have to do? Anybody? What did you have to do when you had your car recalled? Go to the dealer. Did you have to make an appointment?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you have to go wait there for it? You didn't have to sit in there in the waiting room then, or did you have to leave your car? Yeah.
It wasn't a bad experience.
Yeah, but you had to change your whole schedule, right? The recalls that we've had on Teslas are over the air. In other words, right now, they just had an announcement today that Tesla is being recalled because of a problem with their heat pump. What does that mean to me? I have a heat pump in my car. Means nothing to me. I'll wake up tomorrow morning, I'll have a software update waiting in my car, and it'll fix my heat pump. Okay, so when you see that Tesla is being recalled, it probably needs a different name, because what happens is it happens over the air. It doesn't inconvenience the owner at all.
It's a reboot.
It's more like, yeah, excellent, yes. It's more like a rebooting your computer, getting the new software. And these cars are very dependent upon the software. And Liz and I have owned ours for almost 2 years. We'll get to that in a minute. Yes.
Question. I just read recently, wasn't there a test drive with a semi from Tucson up to Phoenix on a
Truck.
electric truck?
It was a 40-foot trailer, I think, with a tractor in front of it.
Tesla or Mercedes?
That was not a Tesla. I can't remember who was the one that was doing it.
Simple,
Too simple.
too simple.
Too simple.
Chinese
Simple.
company.
They're a trucking company.
Okay. And what those vehicles are doing, they're driving on one highway that's basically straight, not encountering any problems, but they might. You know, ever drive up to Phoenix and try to get to the airport, and all of a sudden, hey, I-10's closed, and you get off and it's like, how do I get anyplace else? It's pretty simple to make a car go straight. It's a lot different to be able to negotiate different things. And we'll talk about that in a minute with some of the features that Tesla has. And I shouldn't say I'm not an owner of Tesla. I have to admit, I am an owner of Tesla. I bought Tesla stock. So, but I'm not here to try to convince anybody to buy Teslas. But here in the United States, the future of EVs right now, all different models represents about 4% of the overall car market. By 2030, it is estimated, and the goal of the current administration in Washington is that 50% of all new cars will be electric vehicles by 2030, 8 years from now. Globally, in 2019, electric vehicles comprised 2.5% of the actual car market. In 2020, it represented 9%. So almost a fourfold increase in 1 year globally. There are about 20 models of electric vehicles on the market today. And there's going to be hundreds over the next 3 years. Hundreds, not just 100, but hundreds. That's how many are in the pipeline right now with all those manufacturers I mentioned previously, as well as Tesla coming out with some additional ones. And one thing that I thought was quite interesting, over in Europe, Shell is converting some of its gas stations to electric vehicle charging hubs. So here we have a major oil producer, gasoline. They're converting some of their gas stations basically to electric vehicle charging hubs. Of course, 10% of the market globally is now electric vehicles. Yes,
Recharge.
I'm going to start charging you if you keep asking me questions.
How long would it normally take to recharge?
We're going to get there in a moment, but I'd like to answer questions as they come up. It takes about 20 minutes at a supercharger, and we'll talk about what a supercharger is. If I'm on the highway and I go in, I roll into my Tesla supercharger and I plug it in, it'll take me about 20 minutes to go from 20% charge to an 80% charge. Okay?
I'll be back and get a couple.
70 miles per hour.
Well, you're riding on I-10 only.
Yeah.
If you're going 70 miles an hour, sir, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're not driving around our community. Okay. You'll get anywhere to about 380 miles at the maximum, down to about 220 miles. It's just like a gasoline car. The faster you drive it, the less you get, right? The less miles you'll get, whether it's on gasoline or it's on your electric charge that you have in your battery. So managing that is a function of how you drive. Okay, in the United States, and again, I'm not going to get political at all here, and I hope whether you're Democrat, Republican, like the current administration, don't like it, doesn't really matter. I'm only here to talk about electric vehicles. The current administration has a goal of 50% of all new US cars by 2030. I mentioned that earlier. Current administration is going to put $7.5 billion into installing 500,000 additional charging stations throughout the United States. There are rebates for all electric vehicles being sold in the United States right now, but not for Tesla. And Tesla sold too many of their cars early on, so they exceeded the maximum that was being allowed. And I'll also talk a little bit further about what happened in 2021 with respect to rebates and the current administration and Tesla, but that's coming up. Tesla has about 3,500 supercharger stations located throughout the United States. It has 31,500 individual stations. The 3,500 is just locations, right? They are beginning to open those up to other vehicles, other electric vehicles. Those were built by and managed by Tesla. But the Tesla CEO, Elon Musk, who I'll talk about in a minute.
Learn about crypto and get paid as you learn with Coinbase Earn. We paid out over $100 million in.
Well, let's get some of that 100 million. That'd be cool. But Musk is not interested in only making money. He's interested in changing the world. And this is one area as far as changing the way cars are going to be fueled in the future. This is one way that he's doing it. And the other happens to be SpaceX. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. So Tesla is the clear leader in all of this. It was founded by Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning in 2003 as Tesla Motors. These guys were sort of in advance of the curve in doing that. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough money to fully fund it. So Elon Musk, who had made billions with PayPal, he decided that he would take all of his profit, and I mean all of his profit from PayPal, and invest it in Tesla. And he became the CEO, and he currently owns 21% of the company. But it was named after this guy, Nikola Tesla. You may, if you studied some of this in the past, I see some heads nodding. This guy was a great inventor But he also was the guy who really was the person who designed the alternating current electrical supply system for the world. He was born in Croatia and moved to the United States, and they named the company after him. I wonder why. I guess electricity was a key thing, huh? US EV sales, there was about 500,000 sold in the United States in 2021. That was an 89% increase over what was sold in 2020. So order of magnitude, huge, 90% increase. Tesla sold, lo and behold, 352,000 of those, about 70% of that total. In the luxury car segment, Tesla sold more cars than BMW here in the United States. So you see all the little Beamers, the BMWs running around. There are more Teslas being sold than BMWs today. So Tesla recently achieved trillion-dollar status. In other words, the sale of their stock that is valued at $1 trillion. Now, this morning, it's more like 950 billion, but that's because the stock price continues to move around a little bit. But there are only 4 companies in the world that are larger than Tesla. 4 companies larger than Tesla. It's 4 times the size of the value of General Motors today. 4 times the size of General Motors. How many people here have owned a General Motors car in your life? I can't believe all hands aren't going up, but I would think most of us at some point. You did. Sure you did. Many.
Didn't I hear that
Olds.
Elon Musk in one of his interviews, he actually admitted, he thought that it was overvaluated.
Yes.
He really thought that it shouldn't be that high.
Right.
He says it's just whatever the market, he doesn't set the price, of course, but
Right.
he himself has said it's.
And that was just last year, and that was when it was around $800 a share. And wasn't that nice that the richest man in the world could say that to us?
He's all on paper, he doesn't have cash.
Oh, no, yeah,
On paper.
he has it 95% in Tesla stock, right? But he's not really interested in the money. I have another slide about him in particular. But anyway, it's 4 times the size of General Motors. And the way it's growing, they just put 2 new plants in China. They're putting a new plant in Germany. They just opened a plant in Austin, Texas. They've been operating out of Fremont, California for a number of years, and that's where the car that Liz and I drive came from. You may have heard about Hertz ordering 100,000 Tesla Model 3s for their fleet. That's about 20% of their global fleet. So Hertz, the car rental company, is getting on the EV bandwagon with Tesla. And Tesla as a company is not just cars. They're also involved in solar power and artificial intelligence, which is robots. So if you have, anybody here have a Roomba or what do you call those things, Liz?
Yeah.
Roombas and all that? Yeah. Well, that's like a miniature robot, but Tesla is actually developing life-size robots that can do all sorts of things. And that's all part of this one singular company. But we're here primarily to talk about Tesla and cars. Now, Elon Musk, we've mentioned him several times. He's the CEO of Tesla. And he is one crazy guy. I mean, he's the richest man in the world, at one point worth over 300 billion, far more than Bezos and Zuckerberg and all those other guys. He was worth well over $100 billion more than either of them. He comes out with some outrageous tweets. I think we're all familiar with outrageous tweets, but he's come out with some really outrageous ones. He's been ignored by President Biden during his entire tenure. When President Biden has talked about electric vehicles, he only talks about General Motors, Ford, those other companies. General Motors, by the way, sold 26 electric vehicles last year.
That's it.
Yeah, 26. And Tesla sold 500,000 here in the United States, almost a million worldwide. Yes.
Well, you might say it's crazy.
I'm also on the,
I'm sorry, I can't hear
I was
you.
gonna say, he might be crazy to us, but he's on the Asperger spectrum.
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, it's not like, he's just different.
Okay, I'll try to use the word different.
He's-
But if I fail to do that, please excuse me.
Really happy they legalized marijuana.
Yeah. Well, it's legal here, so. Reason President Biden has been ignoring him, and this has been basically said by his press secretary, is because Tesla is a non-union shop. And I'm not here to talk about unions.
Politics.
I know, I'm just telling, those are facts. Those are facts. SpaceX is one of his other companies, and it's got the very specific purpose of colonizing Mars. So yes, Elon Musk is different. Elon Musk is leading the private sector in space travel today. SpaceX will probably end up being far more significant, important than even Tesla. He's also the CEO of the Boring Company, and I don't mean one where you're going to fall asleep like perhaps during my presentation this morning, but this is an underground tunnels that is to solve traffic problems and beautify our cities and enable Hyperloop for high-speed regional transportation. And I took that off some website, but it's going underground so that vehicles can move underground instead of on the surface of our planet. And he's got the technology and he's doing it today. It's better for the environment. It's an infant company, but it's another one that he's doing to change our world.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You were talking about the charging aspect of the Tesla. I know of two dealerships, and these happen to be Chevrolet, that they have a charging pump or whatever you call it at their facility. And if you bought the car from them, maybe it is.
Chevy Bolt.
You go there, you charge it up, no charge, and you're on your way. Now, is this something that's coming to?
Free charging or?
Yes, free charging.
No, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? I mean, we've all heard that, right? But so Tesla's cars, we'll talk about their models in a moment, but their Model S and their Model X used to come with free supercharging. But of course, that was embedded in the price they were being charged. I mean, companies aren't stupid. So you either pay them then or you pay them afterwards. Now they've eliminated that. No one gets free supercharging anymore. So everybody pays for their fuel. And we'll talk about the differences of gasoline versus electricity in a moment. Yes,
So
sir.
you have a charging station at home?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I'll explain that in a moment as well, but we do. So here's the growth of Tesla. In 2013, they sold 22,000. Tesla's stated goal is to grow a minimum of 15% or 50% annually. And they have been achieving that goal. This year, they will sell at least 1.5 million vehicles. They sold 1 million last year. The year before, they sold 500,000. The year before that, they sold 367. As you can see, this goal is being achieved. And they plan on continuing it, and I'll explain why. Yes, sir.
Worldwide or US?
This is worldwide. US, but the 50% goal will be in the United States as well. They sold about 500,000 in the United States last year. They sold the remainder in China, in Europe, and other places that they export to. But now they have their own plants in both China and Germany. And they'll continue to put plants in as they're looking at India next, as a matter of fact. So these are the model cars that Tesla has. I did not come up with this acronym, the S3XY. Again, this was Mr. Musk, but the models are currently very sexy. That's how you actually are supposed to read that. So there's a Model S, a Model 3, a Model X, and a Model Y. They range in price from $45,000 to $151,000. There are additional options that are another $20,000 if you were to get them all. The Model S is the big sedan. The Model X is the big SUV. The Model 3 is the smaller sedan. And the Model Y is an SUV. I'd say it's a small SUV, but it's a little larger than a small SUV. And the Model Y is the one that Liz and I have. Future models, they're coming out with a Cybertruck, which looks like a space vehicle. I don't have a picture of that. I would have brought one if I would have thought of it.
So ugly.
I think it's pretty cool. It's almost indestructible by the way it's been built, but that's another story. They're also coming out in the future, but not in 2022, probably in 2023, of a car that will only cost $25,000. And that will be the car that will just take off and will be for the masses. It'll be less expensive than the average US vehicle today.
Would that be a sedan or an SUV?
I believe that's going to be a very small sedan. You know, that's what the prototypes have been that I've seen.
Doug, what is FSD?
I'm sorry?
FSD for 12,000?
Full self-driving, and we'll talk about that in a moment. That's a $12,000 option today. Some people, like the two of us, got it for less than that many years ago. Anyway, there's a lot of misinformation about Tesla out there. Autopilot and full self-driving crashes. You may have read about some of those. A guy in Texas had one. And lo and behold, what did the guy in Texas do? He was sitting in the back seat. And full self-driving doesn't really mean full self-driving. It's really like an enhanced autopilot, but he was sitting in the back seat. Other people that have these features, they've had accidents as well. And what do? You have to keep your hand on the steering wheel when you're driving on full self-driving today. It's not fully autonomous. It doesn't mean that you can't do anything. You're supposed to keep your hand on the steering wheel so that the car knows you're paying attention. So some people have actually put weights on their steering wheel and then they fall asleep and then they have an accident. So, but you don't hear that in the press. When you see it being read, you see Tesla had an accident. And I've looked into most of these and they always come about that the drivers were being foolish. Charging and range anxiety, to get back to your question. A lot of people think that charging these vehicles is extremely difficult, takes too long. For 98% of the driving that we do, all we do is when I come home after being here this morning, I'll drive my Tesla home. I will get out of the car. I will go over to my wall. I will take my charging cord. I will plug it into my Tesla. That takes me about 10 seconds. I've timed it to actually get out of the car, get my cord, plug it in. Takes about 10 seconds. I do that every time I walk into my car. Overnight, the car charges when I'm asleep. I wake up the next morning, I got a full charge.
Is that how they recommend to do it?
Yes.
It doesn't hurt the batteries?
No.
Charging it that?
No, but I only charge, but the car is monitoring itself all the time. Getting updates and doing different things that I could never explain. I'm not a Tesla expert. I'm just got hooked into making a presentation. But it does all sorts of things when it's plugged in and during the day. It'll make noises. It makes little noises, different things that it's doing. but we have ours programmed, and you can do this with Tesla. We have ours programmed to charge every night at 11 p.m. And I'll tell you why later. And it'll charge starting at 11 p.m. until it reaches a charge of about 75%, which is the maximum I'd let it charge to. So no matter where we are, we could be at 20% or 50% or 70%. And the car manages it and it's charged to 75%. So at-home charging is very, very easy, very simple. Yes.
How does that impact your electric bill?
Going to talk about that in a minute, but it cost me about 1/3 to 1/2 as much as it costs to run a gasoline powered car that would get 30 to 40 miles per gallon. And I'll show you a little slide on that in a moment. The cost of ownership, many studies have been done on this. It's far less costly long-term to own a Tesla than it is to own a gas-powered car. Now, if you buy the $151,000 car, I'm not saying you now compare that to a VW Bug or something, some smaller vehicle. But if you compare that to a comparable car like a Maserati, yes, it would be far less the cost of ownership. For like models, like cars, far less to own a Tesla than it is for another car. Yes.
Same with the maintenance of it for oil changes and everything.
There's no maintenance. The only maintenance that you have on a Tesla, you'll need to get your brakes replaced at about 100 to 120,000 miles. Now, how often do you get yours replaced? And I'll tell you why that's different on a
And
Tesla.
anybody can do that?
No, you take that, well, you could go to a regular, yes, you could. I won't. Considering I'll only have it done once, I'll take it to the Tesla shop. You change the windshield washer fluid as you need it, but we live in Arizona, so we don't need it very often.
Tire rotating.
Tires can be more expensive than regular cars. And the reason for that is my car weighs 4,600 pounds. So it's a heavy car because of the battery that runs across the bottom of it. But it's tough on tires. But from a maintenance standpoint, there are no oil changes. There's none of that kind of stuff, tune-ups. There's no maintenance like that. No timing belts, nothing like that.
There's nothing in the front.
Well, we'll show a picture. We'll show a picture of that in a minute. Let's not get it. We already talked about the recalls. You may have heard something, people are stuck on highways, and I saw some articles that were written about, gosh, I'm glad I wasn't in an electric vehicle. They would have been out, their battery would have gone out. Well, the thing they don't tell you is that, you got a gasoline car and you're running that engine constantly, and you're also getting gas into your car, the smell of those vehicles and your other vehicles all around you. You're in an EV, there's no pollution. EVs will last if you were on an EV, like in our case, if I were going out on a snowy day, which of course we don't have here, but if I was in New England or something, I'd have my car charged to about 90% every day. I'd go out and let's say I get stuck on the highway. That my car would last for 2 to 3 days. Heating, 2 to 3 days, comfortable. Very unlike gasoline cars, but this myth has been perpetuated by.
Why is it that the electric vehicles that I've seen in the cold weather, the mileage drops considerably?
Yeah, and it does that with even gas-powered cars. Somewhat.
But the electric takes a pretty good hit.
It does, and there's no doubt about that.
Cold weather, it's.
Cold weather, it is tough. Cold weather, it is tough on driving, not on idling.
Oh.
And the idling isn't probably the proper terminology because Teslas don't idle.
Yeah.
So their batteries, you don't have to check the water and.
There's no radiator. No.
No, I mean, in the battery, the.
No.
caps, right?
No, that's yes. There's also There's a lot to talk about, but there's also a 12-volt battery that can go bad, and that has to be replaced probably every 3 years. The actual main battery that powers the vehicle, that has, it's either 8 or 10-year warranty and 120,000 miles, something like that. And the longest or the highest mileage Tesla on record is about 500,000 miles. But it had one battery replaced. Battery can cost, and the battery prices are going down. They cost around $8,000 to $10,000 now to replace that main battery. But as technology changes and improves, it'll become less and less. So now for the real exciting part is, this is Doug and Liz's car. There it is, parked in the beautiful Arizona desert. We opted for the red. We also got a white interior, and I have another screen where I tried to point to this, but that's the only thing you have in the front of your car. That's the screen. That controls everything. But we opted for the white interior, and you might think, why would anybody ever get a white interior? You could have got black. Black hides all your dirt, right? Makes it look like your car is clean and actually your car is filthy. The white interior of a Tesla, it's vegan material. It is not leather. It's soft, it's supple, and it cleans with baby wipes. Our car is almost 2 years old and doesn't have a mark on it. And I know people that have the white interior that have little kids and grandkids climbing all through their car, and their cars look the same way. So that's the back seat. There's plenty of leg room back there, and you can take a look at the car when we're done here if you're interested. Why did we buy the Tesla? It actually was my idea, not so much my wife's, I have to admit. But I'll be 75 in a couple of months. I'm recognizing that all of my faculties are starting to diminish. And my driving has never been all that great, has it, Liz?
You're good in the snow.
I'm good in the snow because I grew up in New England. But other than that, she's a much better driver than I. But anyway, full self-driving or enhanced autopilot or these enhanced features, to me, are a safety factor. It's not fully here by any means. See, fully here means it's level 5. Tesla's at a level 2. So it's got a long ways to go, but there are different routes that I go on that I basically, all I have to do is program in a destination, put that weight on the steering wheel, and the car will make the turns. It'll adjust its speed. It'll take me right to the destination. It's a very costly option. I'll get to just 1 second. It's a very costly option, $12,000 if you buy it outright today. They also are leasing it. You can lease it for $199 per month. When I bought the car a year and a half ago in June of 2020, I paid $7,000 out of pocket for it. Yes.
How's the handling on mountain roads and I go up to Mount Lemon, whatever the winding roads?
I have been up there and I elected not to use it coming down. I did use it going up and it worked fine.
Okay. I mean, in general,
But
just the car itself.
even though I'm a big believer, as you know, when you're coming down Mount Lemon, I just didn't really want to. I was coming down, actually, it was late at night and I just didn't feel
You're talking
comfortable.
about the self-driving.
Yes, I'm talking about the self-driving, yes.
In general, too.
In general, on the highway, it'll change lanes for you. It'll adjust your speed. It'll brake. It'll keep the right car distance, like a lot of cars today do. It'll signal to change. It'll move you over. It'll signal to change back automatically. It does it all by itself. But around.
Because he's directionally challenged, so I always know where I'm going and I know how to get there, but Doug doesn't. So it's great for him. He can pay more attention to what he's supposed to be doing, rather than like, do I have to go out, get off the line or tear or whatever? It's just like he puts it in and then.
See, all the family secrets have to come out now, don't they? Yes.
I believe it was asking how's it handle, not all the technology, how's it handle on the curve?
Yeah, that's-
Handle is great. You got to remember, you've got a 4,000 or a several thousand pound weight running across the entire base of the car. So when you make a turn, it doesn't lean, it holds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it holds really, really well. It is not, our car, the Model Y is still a high vehicle. It has been tested in all the the rollovers tested that the NHTSA does, National Highway Administration. It's got the most stable of all the small SUVs going because of that battery that it has in the base. But it also affects the handling, and it handles very, very well.
Yeah, so you can really tool along on.
Oh, yeah.
Mountain roads.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
fun to drive.
Yeah.
Oh, it's,
Kind of into fun.
it's,
Very fun to drive. And
we'll talk about it in a moment. Don't get ahead of us, Liz. So the other reason that I bought it specifically was because of its safety. Again, we're getting older. I wanted to have a very safe vehicle. It's top rated in every single way that these cars are evaluated. It's 5-star. I'm going to show you, we've already talked about the battery along the base of the car, and I'll show you a picture of one accident. This is an accident that happened with a Tesla that was side hit by a tractor trailer going 80 miles an hour.
Oh,
And that's what happened. And the driver walked away. So I want you to think about that for a moment.
And they're still looking for him?
No, no. He just went up. No. But this happens. I've seen so many different accidents where Teslas have been hit and the driver walks away. This car is extremely safe. And that is the primary reason why I got this car.
Did your insurance company
Oh,
recognize that in your?
my goodness. Talk about insurance companies. Anybody here with Amica? The insurance company? Amica is an excellent insurance company. I've been with them for over 50 years. Over 50 years I've been with them.
primarily East Coast, New England.
Yeah. 50 years. And they've always been great. I got my Tesla. Now, admittedly, it's an expensive car. Call them up and I said, got this car, what's my insurance going to be? They said $2,500 a year. I said, really? I said, do you know about the safety ratings? And well, it's a new car. These are, they haven't been around that long, $2,500 a year. And I said, well, that's crazy. I said, I'm going to have to look around. So I did look around and I ended up going with Progressive and $950. $1,500 difference. And if you haven't checked out all of your insurance policies, I then checked my homeowners. I was paying more for homeowners. I have an umbrella policy. I changed all of them over. And again, I'm not just here to sell Progressive by any means. But shop around on your insurance, it can go crazy. But again, this is because the company was not aware of electric vehicles, Tesla specifically, and its safety. But that's a key thing. Yeah.
I had an opportunity to go for a ride in a new Ford electric pickup.
The F-150?
I don't know. But anyway, what a tremendous power that thing has.
Yeah.
When he showed me, he stepped on it. Holy cats, just about put me in the back seat. I mean, it was unreal.
I have floored our car twice.
I got whiplash the first time.
We'll talk about it in a minute. Here we go. All right. So And this is true of not only just the Model Y, our car, but true of all the Teslas. There's no gasoline. You know, I never realized how much I hated waiting in the line at Costco. I don't know about you folks, but you know, getting in that line and get up there and go out and put it in.
I smile every time I drive by it now.
So we never go to a gas station. We never have to do any of that. It takes me 10 seconds. I plug it in and I always have a full charge. We charge overnight at home on a 220 volt circuit. I had that put in. Fortunately for me, my circuit breaker, we have a Lantana and the box was right outside of the wall where I wanted it to go. It cost me $300 to get that outlet put in there. You can charge it on a 110 volt or, you know, regular outlet, but it only charge at a rate of 4 miles per hour. So it, you know, some people do it, you know, they don't drive that far. We probably could have gotten away with it because we don't drive that far. But we opted to go with the 220 and we get 30 miles an hour charge. So when I plug it in at 11 o'clock at night, and it stops at 5 o'clock, and I'll tell you why in a minute we do that. It's got 6 hours, it charges 180 miles if I needed that much, which we almost never do. And then you have a full charge going off in the morning. So I said, no more gas stations, plug in. It costs less, and I'll show you a separate slide on that. There are special night rates that you get from Tucson Electric and Power for EV charging that go from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. I can schedule that for any time, and that car has only been charged at the special EV charging rate between 11 and 5, never charged other than that. When you're driving any distance, there are superchargers along every major highway in the United States. And they design it that way so that if I wanted to go from Tucson to our daughter's house in Virginia, I can schedule it and plug it in and do it with no problem. Now, earlier I said it takes about 20 minutes to go from a low of 20 to up to 80%. What you do is you schedule your bathroom breaks, your lunch breaks. So you drive for 2.5, 3 hours. You stop at the next supercharger, you plug in. It will take you longer to make a long distance trip than it would if you got gasoline and you just took 5 minutes to fill your gas tank. But if you're like most people, you don't want to drive more than 2.5, 3 hours. You want to take a break. You want to go to the bathroom. You want to catch lunch, whatever you're going to do. So it doesn't add that much, but it does add some to a long trip. And 20%, I mentioned that.
Yeah, but can't you take your iPads, or not iPads, but your phone and do this to it and it tells you where they are?
Absolutely.
Along?
They're all
Yes.
on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just plan your trip according to where the charger is.
And what it does.
Do it for you. You don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, it will, if I've got my trip plan to go to Virginia, it will tell me that when I get to Wilcox, that there's a supercharger there, and it will start navigating to that supercharger if I needed to. It will also precondition the battery so that it is more able to accept fast charging.
So does it take any kind of credit card, or does it charge your electric bill at home?
As soon as I plug in, it knows the car, it knows me, and it has my credit card.
You don't have to do anything.
So you don't do anything.
Plug in.
All you do is you go up to it's like going up to a gas pump, taking the hose out, going over to your charge port or your fuel intake. You press a little button, it opens the thing, you plug it in, and that's it. When I'm done, it knows who I am. My charge card's on record. They charge me. It appears on my screen in my car, and I'm done. All the superchargers are, well, I shouldn't say, The vast majority of superchargers are located in places where there's places to either go to the bathroom or get food or restaurants or things like that.
Yeah.
Yes, Tyler, what do you-
Communicate, does it need Wi-Fi or something, or?
to do what?
To communicate, like between your car and the charger,
No,
or
no, soon as I plug the car, as soon as I plug the charger in, it knows my car. Don't ask me how, I don't
I
know.
mean, for finding the charging places.
No, it has internet in the car.
It has, okay, so. And so.
He watches Netflix while I'm in the stores and stuff.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, but it has the internet, and when we get home, it goes into our Wi-Fi. But when we're on the road,
The software update.
yeah, but when we're on the road, it's just,
It's a navigation system.
it's a navigation system. Yeah. Help me out here when I don't know the answers. Thank you.
I don't know how much time you have left. I wish you'd stop all questions. so You can finish up and go to your car.
Well, it won't take much longer. I really like to answer people's questions because it shows
I
that.
want to know how long of a wait have you ever had at a charging station, especially in populated areas?
20 minutes tops.
Oh, no, that's just to charge it, but we've never had to wait for a charger.
No.
Yeah, if we were living in California, we would have to wait. California right now, Tesla Model Y was the second largest selling vehicle in all of California last year. Model 3 was the fourth best-selling car in California last year.
But it tells you if there's a wait time at the charger.
It tells you not only that, it tells you how many stations are available and what kind of charge you're going to get.
They're putting in right near Sprouts. They're putting in a lot of them where that Freddie,
Presentation actually covers that, but that's okay.
they're putting in a ton of them right there, right in the Sprouts parking lot.
So they put.
There's 16 going in there, but somebody asked about how fast this car is. The Model Y is faster than most sports cars. It'll do 0 to 60 miles per hour in between 3.5 and 4.5 seconds. 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds.
That's it.
It's great for merging.
Don't ask me. All I know is I get in the car and the car goes fast. The Model S Plaid, the most expensive car that they make, is the fastest production car in the world. It'll go from 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds.
How many Gs is that?
I don't know, but all I know is that in my little Model Y, if I floor that car, you would go just like that.
And
That's why the 2 times that I've done it, I've told my passenger, I said, put your head all the way up against the backrest or the headrest. It has instantaneous torque, unlike other cars that have to kind of move up. This thing is immediate and it just takes off. One thing that really surprised me, it's actually safer to have this kind of speed available than not. I've been in situations where merging, getting onto highways, maneuvering around things, it has been very, very helpful to have the speed. You don't floor it. I mean, I don't. But I mean, if you did, you'd really go fast. But I mean, just to be able to do that, it's entirely different. We had a Honda CR-V before this, which I loved. But this car, somebody asked, is it fun to drive? This car's a blast. Yeah, it's fun. The storage, the Model Y is huge. It's got 76 cubic feet. The frunk, which is the trunk in the front of the car, it has no engine. So it's not like the old Corvairs where you had a little thing in the front, and you had the engine in the back. This car doesn't have anything in the back. It doesn't have anything in the front. Don't ask me. Somehow it goes. And there, if you want to have takeout food, you put it in the front and there's no smells in your car. So some of the convenience, we can preheat the car, which Liz will probably want to do now. And you can preheat the seats remotely from in here. Liz will do that now. And in the summertime, you can pre-cool it from wherever you are. Sentry mode, we can come back to the car and see if anyone is around our car. If they were, we call it up on our screen, and we actually have a video of the person that was looking into our car. And we've had
men going like this.
we have a lot of people that have done that. We also have live camera access. So if I wanted to look at my cameras right now, on my cell phone, I could actually see in any of the cameras that are around the car, what's going on.
Has 12 cameras.
The dash cam is the camera in the front, so if there's anything going on and I honk my horn, it records it automatically. It's got a customizable screen. The screen that I showed you earlier that I pointed to, you can customize that to a certain extent. Some of the features, I mentioned that you get frequent over-the-air updates to all cars. Teslas are not like other cars. When you buy your car, you bought that car. When you buy a Tesla, you get constant improvements. As they develop new things and stuff like that, most of the stuff is run on software. We've probably gotten 20 different updates in the past 18 months, get about one a month. It's got this thing called regenerative braking. You take your foot off the accelerator, the car starts to slow down automatically. And as that regenerative braking happens, your battery charges. Somebody asked earlier about Mount Lemmon. Coming down Mount Lemmon, I gained 10% of my range. I didn't lose range, I gained 10% because I tested it. I just was curious. It's got a megaphone that you can talk to people outside of your car. My car doesn't have that. I got the earlier model. I could get it, but it costs $200 and I don't think I'm not going to use it that much. Got a special car wash mode. It's going into a car wash. I can receive text messages. I can send text messages. It's got my calendar on there. It knows where I'm going. I get in the car and it'll automatically start navigating to that next location based on my calendar. It's got a camp mode and a dog mode. You press those buttons if you're out camping, and a lot of people camp in these cars. They have mattresses that fit in the back. You hit camp mode, it'll keep the temperature, whatever you set on it. If you have dog mode, you have a little dog in the car, you press dog mode, it'll maintain that temperature in the summer, in the winter, and the screen changes to my owner will be back in June, and the car's at 70 degrees.
I use that when I go in Safeway on a 110-degree day, when I'm just running in to get a couple items. I put it on dog mode. It keeps the car cool, and yeah, you don't come back to a hot car. Because I'll sometimes forget to turn on the air if I'm in a place, so it's easier just to leave it on the dog mode.
Attention spans are getting less in the United States because we have all these things, and they say usually it's only about 30 minutes, and this gentleman waited till 50 minutes before you mentioned maybe we should move it along. We've been over an hour now, but if you want to hang in here, I'll do it too, but it won't be that much longer. In the interior, it's basically a computer on wheels. It's got a 15-inch screen. It's very clean. There are no gauges, no dials. After you drive this car for a year and a half, like I have, I had a friend, very rich friend, that was looking at the Mercedes EQS, and I test drove that car with him. It was an electric vehicle, a new one, $100 and some thousand. It was like sensory overload. It had the buttons, it had dials, it had all sorts of gauges. I couldn't handle it. I'm so used to nice, clean, easy to manage thing. Voice commands for almost all things. I mentioned the screen has everything on it. I rarely touch the screen. I do everything through voice command. I can open the glove box. I can change my speed. I can adjust the temperature. I can turn my windshield wipers on. All I do is there's two little wheels on my steering wheel. One will control the radio, and the other does all the other functions. The one on the right. And I just tell it, and there's between 150 and 200 different voice commands that you can give it, and it goes just like that.
You can tell what kind of music to play. You can say
what station you want, make a telephone call, send a text to, and you never have to take your eyes off the road. Another safety feature. I mentioned the easy to clean, the Costco baby wipes, just wipe it down. It's got presets for seats. I think you can put in 20 or 30 different presets. Liz has hers, I have mine. We have one to easy entry. So the car automatically, when I come up to it with my phone in my pocket, It knows it's me. The seat moves back. It's very easy for me to get in.
No key.
Yeah, there's no keys with a Tesla. If you want to have it so you can clean in the back, you can just hit another preset and all the car seats in the front move up and you can clean in the back. It's got a clear view. There's nothing in front of you. No screen. You might think, well, how do I know how fast I'm going? Well, the speed is on the upper left-hand corner of that screen. And it took me about 5 minutes to get used to that as I was driving from Scottsdale with my new car. It's got wireless phone charging. It's got USB outlets. It's got subwoofers. Some people say it's the best speaker system in any car. Entertainment. Liz mentioned when if I go with her when she goes shopping, I usually stay in the car and I watch Netflix. Comes right up. So Netflix, Hulu, Disney. It's all in the car. So here are some of the, I mentioned, here's the screen. It's where I'm pointing to the screen. This is the master screen, and it has everything from the basic controls, all about charging, autopilot, locks, lights, displays, trips, all that kind of stuff you can click on and you get additional information. At the bottom of that screen are other different things that you can click on, and you can customize this by pulling those off of this down to the bottom area so that they're always there. I already mentioned about Netflix, Hulu, Disney, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. I just watch Netflix. That's me. It's got all sorts of games people can play, but you can only watch Netflix and you don't play games when the car is parked. Okay, but there's like 30 different games that kids can play. I don't.
While you're charging too, you can watch something.
Right. I don't play any of the games. It's got all sorts of radio stations that are available. As Liz said, you can just ask it to play certain music. If you like the 60s, if you like rock, if you like country, you just push your button and say, play me most.
It has the top 25 podcasts in their country. So that's kind of cool to just scroll down and see what kind of podcast you
Right.
want to listen to.
And the next one is something that Liz always likes me to play because this is the romance screen, and it comes on and it's got a fireplace, and it really looks like it's real, and it's got nice little music that goes on it, and you can hear the wood crackling. That's the romance screen. The phone app is something that Liz used to turn the car on already. It's got all the controls, climate, location, summon, schedule, security that I mentioned, different things that are up. I wanted to show, and you can, this is how you schedule service. You just go online, you click on the service. If you were on the side of the road and you needed assistance, you click roadside and you were immediately connected to Tesla, and Tesla sends help to you. These are my charging statistics. I did this a few days ago. So it says in the last 31 days, I used so much electricity and it cost me $14. I put in the rate, the super EV TEP rate. So exactly what I pay. It cost me $14. That 255 kilowatt hours represents about 1,000 miles of driving. And that cost me $14. And somehow they have it programmed and it said it would have cost $107 for gas, so I saved $93. So you can see I had 94% super off peak. I don't know where they got the 6% because I don't have it scheduled that way, but I'm not going to go there. So storage, here's the back of my car. This is with the back seat folded down. I mentioned that I had 76 square feet of storage. This is underneath that. Okay, this is underneath that storage area you just saw. That's another place that there's storage. And then in front of that, there's another place that has storage, and I've got charging cables and Tesla stuff, cords and stuff. That's all in the back. And this is the front. This is where your engine is in most cars. This is called the frunk. And that's another large area that's also available for storage. So what we've done is we've talked about all electric vehicles. We've talked about the Tesla being the leader of all the electric vehicles. You've seen some photos and discussion about the car that Liz and I have, the Model Y. And now I don't know what the next step is, but I'll turn it over to Kata and then we'll go from there. If we go outside, I don't know.
Another thing about the full self-driving, when I'm just looking at the app, anybody can purchase it, but in order to get it in your software, we had to pass a driving test for 30 days. Driving was monitored every time we got to the car, and you were rated on a safety scale of following too closely, making erratic turns, going too fast, braking too fast. So anybody, we had to have a score of 98 something to get the software installed into our vehicle. So we both had to pass it.
What does it also take from the time you start driving? Is it monitor, not to keep track of you, but just like a test?
Well, it did it for a 30-day time period.
It was a rolling 30-day time period, and basically the lowest they ever got down to was a score of 99.
Okay, so we had to.
But we had-
so not like-
we actually
you were
had
a
it 100
driver,
for one, so.
You may have paid for the full self-driving, but you didn't get it.
This is the beta.
This is the beta.
This is still beta. So they only wanted
That's why
people that were.
they need it for the cars as well as the people. I mean, they need to know how to.
Yes, how to-
Thank you.
I did, you gave it to me.
Oh, good, okay, well, thank you so much. This has been very enlightening. And before you go out to the demo, I do just want to remind you about the items for sale. Because you're going out to the demo, I'll probably put them back in the cabinet, but also in the cabinet, I'll put the list of what we have and the costs, all negotiable. We want to sell them. Anything else?
Okay, I know he doesn't want me to help them.
Yes. And stop cooking the phone.
I had to.
Oh, look at the car.